India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has claimed victory in his country's general election. Together, we will build a strong and inclusive India. Mr. Modi tweeted as his party, the BJP, looks set to secure its second consecutive single-party parliamentary majority. Celebrations erupted outside the BJP office in the capital, New Delhi. The BJP has so far won 49 seats and is leading in 257 others. As for the main opposition Congress, it's another humiliating defeat.
Today is the day of the mandate, and I don't want to color the decision of the people of India by getting into a long conversation with you about what I think went wrong. Frankly, today it doesn't matter what I think went wrong. What matters is that the people of India have decided that Narendra Modi is going to be the Prime Minister. And as an Indian person, I fully respect that.
A definitive result is expected to emerge in the next few hours, but here are the trends. The BJP and its allies are leading in 348 seats, as you can see, while the opposition Congress and its allies are only in 92 at present. The BJP is ahead in most states, including those it lost to the Congress less than 6 months ago. Now for the latest, let's cross over to our correspondent, Jeremy Coe in New Delhi. Jeremy, while final results are not out yet, BJP supporters have already started celebrating. Tell us more about the latest numbers and what's the significance of Mr. Modi's lead.
Well, jubilant scenes outside the BJP headquarters here in New Delhi because they was celebrating the stunning victory by the BJP as well as allies. They're on track to win more than 300 seats. That's far above the 272 seats that they need to form the next government. That's the magic number that you need to control the lower house of the parliament, Lok Sabha. So what we're seeing so far right now is that the BJP is on track to actually expand on its current lead in the Lok Sabha, BJP and its allies, and that's a stunning development that many analysts as well as political watchers here were not expecting. In fact, many were expecting the BJP to lose seats in this election, even though they'll still form the next government due to dissatisfaction over the economy. We've seen the economic numbers come down over the last few years, under the last 5 years under Mr. Modi. But since tensions with Pakistan in February, Mr. Modi has successfully transformed the narrative into one. He's talked about how he's a very strong man, he's a strong leader, and he's gone big on national security as well as on a forceful foreign policy, and that's what voters here clearly are thinking about when they cast their votes. So what we're seeing so far right now is the BJP has made huge strides in gained ground in several seats that were hostile to it in the past, including in West Bengal. It's currently on track to win 18 seats. That's nearly half of all the seats, and that's far above the 2 seats it won in 2014. And in the it's also made big gains in Karnataka. That's where the IT hub of Bengaluru is located in. It's on track to win quite a number of seats right there as well. And that's where it lost in the state assembly elections just last year. Now we've seen Congress leader Rahul Gandhi conceding defeat to Mr. Modi. He says that his defeat himself. The defeat was so crushing for the Congress party, which Mr. Gandhi leads, that Mr. Gandhi even lost his own seat in Amarthi in Uttar Pradesh, but he will be returning to Parliament because he's won a second seat in Kerala state as well. But Mr. Modi has said that his victory is an inspiration for future generations.
Jeremy, during the campaign, the BJP was criticized heavily for not delivering on many of its promises from 2014, from that election victory. How can we expect Mr. Modi now to handle this second term in office?
Well, clearly Mr. Modi's priorities in the second term right now is to fix India's economy. We've seen fairly troubling figures coming out from India so far. Leaked government statistics showed that India's unemployment rate is currently at a 45-year high at 6.1%. And in February, the latest figures show that it's about 7.2%. So clearly, unemployment is a big issue. Also, jobs for graduates who are, leaving university. We're seeing a lot of them underemployed, or they're having trouble finding jobs as well. But that's also a concern because there are some critics who say that Mr. Modi, having failed to deliver on his economic promises, will turn the narrative into one where of national security. We've seen that under his term, Hindu nationalism in India has been rising so far, and also attacks against Muslim, in particular lynchings against Muslim, have also been on the rise. And we've seen that Amit Shah, the president of the BJP, he's one of Mr. Modi's closest confidants. He's also used anti-Muslim rhetoric throughout his campaign. He's vowed to remove every single infiltrator from India, excluding Buddhists, Hindus, as well as the Sikhs. So he did not mention the Muslims. So where does it leave the Muslims here in India? That's certainly something that they will think about in the days and the months ahead.
Jeremy, thank you very much for that update. Jeremy Coe there on these election results for India, reporting for us from New Delhi.
And we're going to have a bit more time with this. For more analysis, Professor C. Raja Mohan, Director of the Institute for South Asian Studies, joins us here in the studio. Good to have you with us again. Firstly, your thoughts on, now that it looks almost like a certainty that Narendra Modi is going to lay claim to another term in office. He has come under a lot of criticism for what he has achieved in his first term in office, and as we heard our correspondent Jeremy say, that he's played up the nationalist side of things to get himself re-elected. Now that that has been done, do you see him then turning his attention back to the economy and to the things that people are concerned about?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think it's fair to say he didn't deliver anything. He had the full mandate last time. He could have done more. Some reforms were done, for example, on the GST, which was pending for a long time. Some easing of the rules of business, but not enough, given India's bureaucratic red tape, famous for it. He's also delivered a lot to the poor in the countryside. Free gas connections, toilets, roads. So I think while the macro level reforms he's not met the expectations, he's also delivered at the micro level to large sections. So much of the campaign, while nationalism was an important theme, they reached out to these millions and millions of voters who benefited. There was a special effort to target the groups of people that benefited by this social service delivery, and that I think paid off. So it's no government, in democracy fully delivers, but the important thing is he's done some. But as your reporter said, the challenges are large. The economy is slowing down. Headwinds from outside. There is a complexity in the international trading system today, and he needs to do a lot more. Liberate the market forces, let the private sector do more, because he's not really been able to dismantle the inherited public sector system. So I think there's a lot to be done. The problem for him would be, on the one hand, you have to liberate the market forces. On the other hand, you still have to stay on the message, pro-poor. You have to make sure. So I think, how does he balance it? That's where I think his skills will be tested.
Professor Mohan, you talked about some of the standout successes that Narendra Modi did experience during the last 5 years. One forgets just how large India is sometimes and how large the population is for the size of the country. He did have successes with sanitation, with general health insurance as well for over 500 million people. That potentially could have swayed this election, even though there was such an emphasis on national security.
Because I think he took advantage. I mean, that there was this terror attack just as the election campaign began. And he responded forcefully and did something which no Indian government did before. That is, use the Indian Air Force, go across and bomb a terror camp in Pakistan. And that, I mean, he was going to extract every ounce of juice from it, which he did. That I'm strong, I'm muscular, I'm not going to lie down and take terrorism. So which kind of resonates with the people. So even those who are complaining about the economy would still say, look, this guy can take care of the country, he's elevated the image of the country. They're fairly surprising that even rural folks saying, he's kind of elevated India standing in the international system, he's the one who will protect us from terrorism. So those messages, but he couldn't have won only on those messages. That's the point I'm making, that you got to see both, balance it with some of the things.
But interestingly, it didn't appear to hurt him, because it had been said, look, he sounds too tough during the Pakistan-India standoff, during, all of those issues. Some were saying he came across as perhaps too aggressive in his
But you saw what Imran Khan said, right? I mean, that a strong Narendra Modi is still the best bet for the peace process, because a strong leader has the capacity to override the usual bureaucratic and political objections. So I think there is also that. I mean, I think having elevated the pitch so high, he still, I think, has a chance to make some bold moves, assuming the key for him would be if there is some way of reducing terrorism, he might be bold enough to pick up some of those themes. So I think that's the beauty of political strength. I mean, that gives you the space to play. The mistake I think he made last time, he didn't do much in the first year where he thought he could go slow and do things in a, you know, let the bureaucracy will do things. But this time, he has to use the first year to do some unpopular things, to cut through a lot of the problems that we have. I was told in Delhi a few weeks ago, they are preparing a 100-day program and that there would be a big push on some reforms at least.
Well, they have the momentum with them, certainly, with this resounding landslide victory. Also, the fact that they have the numbers now to have the majority in the lower house without having to rely on other coalition members. That strengthens his hand, doesn't it? So he is very well positioned to sort of make good on all the promises that he has made.
Yeah. Now, the question is really the competing, you know, trade-offs that he has to manage. But I think he has a free hand, which very few people have had in the last 40 years. So it's, in fact, how we takes advantage of this. But it's also the burden sometimes is overwhelming, right? I mean, in terms of the scale of the task, as you said, but at the same time, the opportunity. But I think one thing about him, he's bold. I mean, he's not, you know, going to say, look, this doesn't play well with. So throughout the last few years, you say, look, I mean, I'm not doing this merely for. So when he would tell the policymakers, look, that's my job. You guys don't hold back. So my sense is there is a moment I would say watch the next 3 months. If he can start moving things, it'll be good news.
All right, well, thank you so much for coming in to help us understand all of that. We look forward to having you back again with us. Professor C. Rajamohan, Director of the Institute of South Asian Studies, right here in studio.